Hello everyone, welcome back to our recap here of Volume 1, The Shadows of Angmar, the first volume in the Lord of the Rings online video game, the original volume, the original game whenever it first came out, and the level cap was 50 before the new expansion, which we will be getting into very soon here. We've got, I think, we're in the home stretch. I think we have this episode of the recap and one more episode to go to finish up through book 15, and then we will start on Gnarlo's new adventures as he follows the ring further south. Just as I remarked in the description of the last video, where I talked about this not only has been a review of the events that have transpired in the story of the game, but also a bit of a review of the changes of the game as time has gone on. You know, all the various episodes I talk about, you know, in the old days we used to go over here. In the old days we used to not have this bag that picked up our treasure. And you can even see that in the videos. In the early days we didn't have the loot bag. We did actually have to loot bodies and stuff. And then I think in last video I mentioned how it's an evolution of my gaming process and all as well, as the early videos were all in 720p, and then during the last recap early on there, you'll notice I upgraded my computer and my video card until I'm working in 1080p then. Well, today's episode will be a further evolution. As you'll tell, there is a slight difference to my voice. Having reviewed back through 240 odd videos now to come up with the screenshots that I've been using for this particular recap series, I have been just absolutely amazed at the varied sound quality of the recordings, of the voice recordings. It's amazing how sometimes they come across really good, and other times the sound is just really not there. It can be very weak and all that. So it's something I've been thinking about for a while. For that very reason, because I've had videos, God knows there's been some Brocraft videos with some poor sound and stuff where I've had to go in and do some really heavy editing and tweaking on the sound to get them into a more listenable state. And it's just having it concentrated so much here in this retrospective series has really driven home to me the need to have a better sound quality in the videos. Half of the video is sound. It's hopefully listening to the voice and listening to the commentary, going along with the moving images on the screen. So it deserves, if this hobby of mine, I like to produce the best product I can. As I said, I appreciate the people that watch it, but I enjoy every single view out there and every single comment that people make. But even if it was just me watching them, I would guarantee you I would still produce them and put them up because I enjoy making these videos. And I hope that enjoyment comes across. No matter what it is, whether it's the LOTRO videos or the GTA videos or any of the other little games that I play. I do so enjoy making the video part of them almost as much as I enjoy the gaming. So I've decided that, take that final plunge and take the next step and to get a little bit more professional with the sound quality as well. So I did go out and get a Blue Yeti mic, and that's what I'm using here. It is, I like the sound of it, and it definitely takes some getting used to because it does not sound to me like the other recordings I've done. Other than one or two will sound like this. I've asked Dwendon, since Dwendon is my brother and actually lives close to me, and I was over playing with him and little Dwendon Jr. today, what he thought about the sound, and he said yes, that this is a very accurate representation of what my voice sounds like. So now I get to know exactly what my voice really sounds like, and so do y'all. So hopefully the sound quality now will be on a little bit more of a consistent basis, and with a little less of the various issues that the kind of cheaper headphone mics and all have been producing. Please let me know how y'all feel about the sound and all, what y'all think about the quality, if I need to adjust anything. Like I said, I like trying to produce the best quality product that I can in the time that I have. I know it's been a few days since I got one of these up too, and I do apologize for that. It's been a busy day in few days at work and in events transpiring in the family as well. And Dwindon has just become a father once again. So he had twins. He had a little baby boy and a little baby girl. So I am an aunt and an uncle now. Yay! So he's got the 3 kids at home now. So I can't say that Dwindon will be appearing in the various videos and all as often as he has been. It's always been kind of hit or miss when he could find the free time. And with a toddler at home and 2 brand new infants, I think his selection of free time is going to be a rare and wondrous commodity soon. But there we go. We have made it from one end of the Shire to the other. So back to our program now, and we will see you back in Evendim in just a moment. We start book 11 with kind of a mixed state of affairs. We were able to travel to Barad Tanon and to take the Palantir from Amarthael, possibly preventing her from finding out exactly where Narquil is hidden. However, we were not able to save Laerdan on his full mission to go in alone, and he was taken prisoner by Amarthael and her forces of Angmar. Calenglad says that during her monologuing, she talked about how she was heading to the Trollshaws now. So obviously she found something there that is of use to her. So he believes that we need to find out which road she has taken. Will she travel to the east and go through the North Downs, or will she travel to the south and travel through the areas of the Shire? He sends us to speak to 2 of his rangers, Rogothir in the east and Galthoniel in the south, and to tell them to send word should they see anything traveling through their territory. We find Rogothir his encampment deep in a haunted and shadowed territory, overlooking the pass between Evendim and the fields of Fornost. He is quick to assure us that should he see any sign at all of the Angmarim approaching this way, he will send a messenger bird. We then travel to the south to the area right near Dwayling. There we find Galthoniel on her encampment, watching the road that passes into the northern farthing. She also assures us that, should any Angmarim pass that way, she will be certain to send a messenger raven back to Calenglad. But she also says that she will not just stand by idly and watch them pass, that though it cost her her life, she will at least try and stop or slow them if they pass along that path, rather than see them move into the lands of the hobbits. We return to Calenglad with the news, and he says he is happy that we should soon know which way the Angmarim decide to go, but that he is upset that he does not wish Galthoniel to throw her life away needlessly against Amarthael's forces, and he says that her sacrifice would be pointless as she would not last a moment and do nothing to help prevent them from traveling their route. He says that now it is time to go and confront Mordrembor and to finally get as much information out of the prisoner as we can possibly know about the plans of Amarthael. Entering into the keep where he's held prisoner, we hear and feel a rumbling explosion, and approaching the room we see flaming rangers go flying through the air. Mordrembor comes running in, states that He is happy that we have seen his victory, and that he will be our doom one day, before vanishing in a column of fire. Entering the room that served as Mordrembor's prison, we find Taydan near death. Before he expires, he apologizes and said that it was the weapon Tan Morgul, that he always meant to bring it to Calenglad, but something always prevented him, and that the whisperings of Mordrembor finally led to him untying him, and that Mordrembor took the weapon and brought all this destruction upon them. Calenglad states that we will chase after Mordrembor and the Angmarim and bring justice to them for what they have done. But he says first that the Rangers must bury and grieve their dead. So he sends us into Numinos to collect city stones that he says will be fitting stones to lie upon and make their graves. We travel high up on the hill of Barad-rath, an old fortress tower that overlooked the shores of Evendel. There we lay out cairns of stone for our 3 fallen comrades who died during the escape of Mordrembor, Cole Hamnir, Cacarmadel, and our friend Taydan. Capstones are laid on each one of the cairns as we lay them to rest. As we end the ceremony, a raven arrives from Tarogathir, the ranger who was posted to the east on the boundary of the fields of Fornost. Therefore we know that the Shire is safe once more, and that Amarthiel's forces have passed to the east through the North Downs to make their way that way through to the Trollshaws. Calenglad has us trail along behind the suspected path of the Angmarim and search for signs of them. From high atop the summit of Weathertop, we are able to see their forces pass the last bridge and disappear into the treed shadows of the Trollshaws. We travel deep into the Trollshaws until we get to the River Bruinen. Traveling south along the Tau Bruinen, we continue searching until we find the camp of the ranger Candaleth, high on a hill overlooking the river. She tells us that she has been warned that the Angmarim have indeed come into the Trollshaws. While we clean out the Angmarim from several nearby ruins, she is able to compile a list of a couple of places she thinks that Narquil might be found. One is a place called Erin Singor, a cave which serves as a den to a clan of wood trolls to the west. The other is an old elf ruin known as Delosad, which lies a short distance across the river and to the south. The caves of the wood trolls are heavily infested by the foul creatures, but we find no sign of Narquil either in the cave or on the trolls themselves. Making our way to the ruins of Delosad, we find the ranger Mildir guarding it. He sends us in to be sure that the inner doors are closed, as he says there have been parties of Angmarim searching the ruins. We find out that yes, indeed, they have not yet been able to pass into the inner part of the old fortress. When we return from Delosad, Candaleth lets us know that she has had reports that a nearby ruin, an old burned-out cottage called the Crumbled Cellar, has been of particular interest to the Angmarim. Wondering what they could possibly want in an old burned-out peasant house, she sends us down there to see if we can figure out what is going on. Digging within the debris, we are able to find an old, rotted, and partially burned diary with the name Sarah Oakhart on the cover. And we have all heard that name before recently, haven't we? Looking within the diary, we find that most of the names are abbreviated with just letters referring to them. But we find out that Sarah Oakhart was working for someone named El, and that he was keeping inn inside of an elf fortress named Sithad. She states that keeping inn hidden there was a great burden and a great sorrow to El, and that finally he decided that it had to be hidden forever without being able to be detected, so he asked her to break the keys to Sithad and to hide them. Candleth believes that Sithad refers to Delisad, that it must have been an old name for Delisad before it totally fell into ruin, and she believes that El must stand for Laerdan, so since he is referred to as an elf lord. And she therefore says that En couldn't be anything but the lost ring of Narquil, that he must have been kept hidden and safe inside of Delisad. Candleth believes that this helps to explain why Laerdan feels personally responsible for the problems with Amarthael and Narquil, and why he seems to know more about the situation than anyone else, and why Amarthael seems to be so interested in him. She sends us to Delisad to follow the clues within the diary to find the broken key to the inner door. We return with these shards of the key to a jeweler in Imladris known as Merilos, who will have the skill to reassemble them. She states that she will be able to repair the key, but asks if we can do a favor for her in the meantime. She says that she lent some jewels to a friend of hers who is an aspiring jeweler, and that he was traveling and was taken by goblins. He was managed to escape, but they kept his jewels, so she asked if we could travel into the Misty Mountains to Goblin Town to return those jewels for her. We accept the little side quest because along the way, it also allows us to travel down and get a little surprise peek at Gollum's old lake hut while we were there. So having accomplished the fun little side mission, we return to Imladris, acquire the repaired key, and then head back to Delisad. We find it awash with Angmarum searchers. We are able to take out many of them and then use the key to open up the door to the inner locked keep of the old elf stronghold. Within the ruins, we find that the items and the very stones themselves contain powerful memories of the events that transpired here, and we are able to find out that El does in fact refer to Laerdan, but the inn is not Narquil, it is in fact Narmaleth, his daughter, who he had been keeping prisoner here, as we are shocked to find out that she was also Amarthael, the champion of Angmar. We learn that Sarah Oakheart was once her mortal human jailer, or caretaker, while Laerdan was keeping her here, and that once Mordorith came to free her from her prison, that Narmaleth killed Sarah, burned her cottage to the ground, and took on her guise as a final insult to her while she traveled the world looking for the remains of her ring, Narquil, as a means to regain her power of old. From behind a locked gate, the black Númenórean Mordrimbor appears, tells us that our quest have been in folly, and that they have found Narquil, and that our doom will soon be upon us before he too leaves to go and rejoin his mistress.
The rangers of Evendim mourn their numbers slain during Mordrimbor's escape from Tinudir. Meanwhile, the Angmarim searched the wilderness for Narquil, the ring of Amarthael. I fear that Amarthael has already discovered Narquil's resting place, and with it, the doom of the North.
Returning to Imladris, Elrond is troubled and grieved by our news of the events in Delisad. He states that the story of Laerdan and Narmaleth was not fully known to him, and that he wishes that Laerdan had trusted them to keep Narmaleth here, and that it would have been far better for her to have stayed in Imladris than to have been holed up in the dark and dingy confines of Delisad. He does give us hope, though, as he says that the means of the enemy are those of deceit, and that he does not believe they could possibly have found Narquil yet, as the Angmarim are still about searching, and that surely Amarthael would have recalled them to her in Angmar if she had recovered her ring. He therefore tasks us to return to Evendim and speak to Calenglad. He believes that Laerdan must be rescued, as he says that if the Angmarim cannot find the ring through searching, that they will begin to therefore torture and twist Laerdan to see if they can find the information from him. We learn from Calenglad that while the greatest part of the host of Angmarim have indeed left the city, that some remain still in Annúminas in service of their lord Amarthael, who he also believes to still be within the ruined city of Annúminas. We defeat some of these Angmarim and find a message from Amarthael to them, saying that Laerdan has been most useful to her and asking for them to return to Barad Turan, the large tower in the heart of the city that she has been using as a base. We know, therefore, that Laerdan, at least at the time of writing this letter, is in fact still alive and being held within the city. We raid the tower of Barad Turan with a small force of rangers. There we find that more trickery is afoot. A lieutenant of Amarthael, one Ain, has been left behind to taunt us and to tell us that, indeed, Amarthael has returned to Angmar and taken her prisoner Laerdan with her. Thus we return to Angmar once more, to the very north, where a small settlement lies named Tarmun Sursa. There the rangers keep watch over a small encampment of hillmen who are still loyal to the forces of the free peoples, and not to Carndun, even though it lies in the very shadow of the evil fortress itself. We battle our way through the various orc jailers and poisoners until finally we reach the very gates itself, where the gatekeeper comes out, a troll we have met before in Evendim named Lozaturk. Defeating him, we are able to get the key from him and to return it to Gwathrin, the ranger leader of the nearby settlement. Gwathrin believes that now is the time to strike, since we have the key and many of the Angmarim are still off down south looking for Narquil. We travel to one of the towers of Carndun, Sameth Ball. Within, we are able to locate Laerdan, but Amarthael has already left, leaving him and us in the gentle company of her jailer Morven. Morven and her guards put up a fight, but we are eventually able to rescue a near unconscious and very badly injured and damaged Laerdan from the tower. We return with Laerdan to Lord Elrond, Laerdan's only hope of finding healing. Elrond says that they can fix his body, but he is not sure about his spirit. He says even now he lies in tormented dreams, crying out that the ring Narquil is close at hand and has been taken to a tower Barad Durgal, from which it must be retrieved before Narmalath/Amarthael can recover it. We fight our way to the top of the tower and take on one of Amarthael's lieutenants, the Black Númenórean Golagan. He is guarding a small chest surrounded by bodies of dead rangers who have tried to get in before us. Defeating him, we open the chest and find that apparently Narquil was split in twain in the past, as the Angmarim have only been able to recover half of it. We take that half and return to Rivendell. There, Laerdan has recovered and risen out of his dark dreams. Elrond calls forth a council of the wise of Imladris to sit and listen to the tale. He wishes for a full accounting of Laerdan, Narmalath, Amarthael, and what has happened with the ring Narquil. Laerdan reveals that when Amarthael fell before the gates of Fornost, he took the ring from her and broke it on an anvil of the Dunedain, but he was not able to destroy it because of the malice that lay within it. Because of that power, it still held sway over his daughter, even though he took her and put her into Sithad to try and get her to recover from the ring. He states that the Angmarim learned of the location of the halves from him during his period of torture. The second half is found far to the north in Forkel, for he had given his ring to a ship captain friend of his for safekeeping, and that ship was the one that had gone to the north into the Bay of Forkel to rescue the lost king in the north, and was lost whenever it was ground in the ice. Despite Elrond's advice to give up the search for a cure for his daughter, Lérdan states that he will never rest until Narmaleth is returned to him, and that if he cannot get the aid of the elves of Rivendell, that he will continue the search himself.
Elrond Half-Elven sent emissaries to Evendim to learn the fate of Lérdan. The search led from Enuminas to Samathbaur in Angmar, where Lérdan was rescued and more was learned of the ring Narhuil. Amarthil's forces now march into the frozen wastes of Forkel, where the heroes of the Free Peoples must follow.